If you found a secret formula to make the winter months more bearable, you'd jump at it, right? Paris is the northernmost city that I have ever lived in, and as we began to get into the fall, I realized that I was looking at about 8 hours of daylight and 16 hours of darkness each day. Now, I've never had seasonal affective disorder before, but I felt like if there was a recipe for it, it was this. And I decided I needed to do something right away to start to combat it. This is the first ever Meggie's Book Club, the book club that I'll be hosting here on a monthly basis. Each month, I'll be reading a book, testing out the principles within it, and letting you know what I think about it. So for the very first book club ever, I decided to read the Little Book of Hygge. Hygge? 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 The Little Book of Hygge. If you're not familiar with this book, it's basically the premise that the Danes, a nation that is consistently ranked the happiest in the world, use hygge, a concept that is unique to their country, to enjoy their lives more. The book does cover all seasons, as hygge can be adapted to the various ones, but it does spend an outsized amount of time talking about winter. And as someone with, I would say, an outsized interest in happiness, I was anxious to learn how the Danes do it and actually embrace this season that I dread so much. First, let's define hygge, because, you know, it's not a concept all of us are familiar with. And it's because it's a little ineffable. He does try to equate it to an English word, and it's cozy, comfortness, but there's also elements of indulgence, return to nature. There's different elements that are involved in hygge. It really is one of those words that doesn't fully translate, although you can kind of get the gist of it. If I had to sum it up for you in a visual, picture hygge as sitting on your couch, hot cocoa in hand, watching out the window as a winter storm rages. Or the summer equivalent of hygge would be that feeling of falling asleep in the park and after a picnic with your friends in the afternoon. Just that real sense of comfort and enjoyment. The book outlines something that he calls the Hygge Manifesto, and we're going to be talking about a couple of those elements and things I tried in regards to each one throughout this season and how it had an effect on me. But before I get into all of the little bits of what makes hygge, make sure that if you're interested in enjoying your winter more, go grab it from the library, or you can order it with my link down below. It is totally worth a read, especially if you are someone who struggles in the winter months, which, hello, hi, all of us. Don't we all prefer summer? I mean, fall and spring, duh, but anything but winter, really. So the first one is light. Lighting is extremely important to the Danes. They apparently light more candles per capita than any other country, and they also are famous for some of their lighting designs. This is how hygge lighting worked for us. We already had warm tone bulbs simply because I wanted our apartment to feel cozy when we first moved in. Also, we don't actually have a lot of overhead lighting, which is apparently very hygge-esque, hygge-ish. So that worked out really well. You want a bunch of soft, different lighting sources. The idea is that you're leaning into the darkness of winter and you're not trying to combat it with this big bright light. You're just letting it be soft and cozy. They also, like I said, use a ton of candles. So I tried to embrace using candles more this season. It can be challenging with young kids running around, but I did discover woodwick candles. Obsessed, absolutely obsessed. They make the crackling noise of a fire, and it's beautiful. It's so, so good. And specifically the brand Woodwick that we started using, the smell is incredible. We got the Fraser fir one, a pine scented one. It was the best pine scented candle ever. We almost burned through half of it in this season alone. So I can't wait to get that back out next season and keep burning it, and plan on keep burning woodwick candles all through the year, because that was a delightful new hobby of mine. The next element of hygge is togetherness. Togetherness, in the way that they describe it in the book, is less about necessarily going out and going to events and doing things. It's more about welcoming people into your home, sharing a meal, sharing a board game night, just welcoming people in like a very like non-pretentious, easygoing, laid back sort of way, which is a lot of how the Danes operate anyway. So we actually use this opportunity to invite people into our home. We used to do this a lot more when we had a house, but now that we have an apartment, I don't know, we have not gone back to that habit. Part of it was that like our house was so big, it was very easy to entertain. Our apartment actually is large enough that we could entertain, but people are just more spread out. They have to take like public transit to get to you. It somehow just feels more inconvenient, but we made an effort this month. We had a couple people over for dinner, had more regular play dates. We had some friends over for like a Christmas movie night, and it was really wonderful. Number one, it was a great way to celebrate these friendships that we've developed through the year. And number two, it's just nice to have loved ones gathered in. And especially since we don't have family directly in Paris, it was really nice to be able to have good friends over and just enjoy a very casual evening with them. The next element of hygge that I rather enjoyed is pleasure. We're talking cakes, we're talking cookies, we're talking bread, we're talking candy. Sweets, sweets, sweets. There's an element of hygge, as I said before, that's about indulgence. It's not about denying yourself the joys. In fact, it's about seeking out and embracing the joys. So instead of looking at those sweet treats that we all want around the holidays, all the cookies that you want to make, as something bad and something to tempt you, as we would typically classify those things in the United States, hygge really embraces them as part of the celebration and indulgence and giving yourself these like little rewards. And yeah, I can say I indulged and I enjoyed it. So here in Paris, we have a bunch of like beautiful chocolatiers. And I went to several and I got myself throughout the season, not all at once, but throughout the season, little nice chocolates to eat. So I'd always have like one that I could pop in if I was sitting down to read a book or do something. At Christmas, I had a really strong desire to bake a bunch of Christmas cookies. I hadn't baked like any cookies this year because they don't have brown sugar in France. But at Christmas, I just really wanted to indulge. And so I made a bunch of different Christmas cookies, and we just, yeah, generally enjoyed the season without a single thought to our waistlines, without a single thought to what this might mean for us. You're indulging now. But the big thing with hygge, they say, is it's not about overindulgence. They specifically say in the book, it's not very hygge-ish to have an upset tummy. So you're not overindulging, you're not eating to the point where you feel sick or you feel too full. Just that one little square of chocolate at the end of the meal, maybe with a tea, or one single like piece of cake in the afternoon for goûter. Something like that is very hygge-ish, and I enjoyed it immensely because, as previously mentioned in some videos, I love cake. Another element of hygge in regards to food is food that takes a while to prepare. So like making your own bread, making stews, roasting meats, that kind of thing. We're not huge meat eaters, but it was really nice to like roast a turkey breast at Christmas. And I'm definitely a soup eater, so making a bunch of soups through the season and having something warm to combat against like that cold outside, that contrast is very much in line with hygge as described in the book. The next element of hygge that I want to talk about is comfort. And I definitely believe in this. I grew up in a family that we would always say like we're a blanket family. We had like a blanket basket in the living room. Everyone had their own blanket in it. You curl up to watch a show, watch a movie, whatever. Everyone curls up in their own blanket. Even now, I have a blanket ladder in my house, and yes, I sit down and I pull a blanket on me. Even in summer, I don't know, it's just something about that coziness and the cozying up. And hygge is very much about that. It's also very unpretentious, so it's come in your sweats, come in a sweater, hair a mess, whatever, however you want to come is okay. And I think that that is perfect for winter. You don't really feel when it's like 30 degrees outside, like getting all dressed up and cute and then layering on your thick winter coat and your woolen hat and your mittens and the whole thing and covering up your cute outfit. So it's nice that hygge just embraces the idea of comfort, of warmth, of enjoying, and not, necessarily some of the other things that we typically think of in fashion that would make us a little bit less comfortable. The next element of hygge that I really tried to focus on is gratitude. And this is not your typical Thanksgiving kind of gratitude. It's not like, oh, I'm grateful for my health or whatever big thing that you're saying you're grateful for. Hygge's gratitude focuses on the very small individual joys in your day. So when you're, for instance, like making a hot cocoa, like you take the mug and you enjoy the feel of the mug in your hand, like maybe it's your favorite mug, the beauty of it you admire, and then you warm up the milk and you enjoy that process and the pouring of the milk and the mixing of the chocolate, and then you take the whipped cream and you put it on top in a beautiful little swirl and you sprinkle some cinnamon on top. All of that is very hygge. Enjoying those individual steps of the process, enjoying things down to their minute details is very, very hygge. Being grateful for even those small things in your day. So in reality, this to me looked like, it's a very gray winter here in Paris. And so focusing on even those moments where there was just like sun for a few minutes and turning my face up and letting it bathe me, or noticing if there was a rose still growing on a vine somewhere, smiling about it. This is something that I think wasn't necessarily new to me. I feel like I've always been someone who's a bit in my own head, in my space, a bit of a daydreamer, and so I tend to notice these things. I tend to notice if there's like a ladybug on the wall when I'm walking by and stop and watch it with my kids. But it was nice to have an excuse to indulge even further in this. It was nice to just appreciate the small things in life and not always focus on some of those bigger things. The next element of hygge that I tried to embrace was shelter. Again, because they have harsh winters and we have not as harsh of a winter, but not necessarily a pleasant one either. The Danes are really big on shelter and being inside and being indoors and being cozied up. One thing that they talk about a lot is having kind of like a little nest, like a hygge nest. And so for me, that was that blue spinny chair that I have right by the windows. When it was the season, it was right by the Christmas tree, which was really nice, and I would curl up there. So I'd sip my hot cocoa, I'd read a book, I'd watch the rain, I'd think, I'd work, and it was just such a cozy spot to just snuggle in and snuggle down and feel safely gathered in. Okay, so overall, I would rate this book a solid 8 out of 10. It was a very quick read, a very entertaining read. I don't know really like what more I could have wanted from it. I learned a ton from it. I actually think it had a huge impact on my winter and my enjoyment of it. I will be implementing these practices again next year. I love the idea of this season of coziness, of indulgence, of friendship, and snuggling in when you already want to anyway, right? So I just love that the Danes embrace it and they give themselves that opportunity. I really took to this concept. If you're Danish and I'm not doing it right, I'm missing something about hygge, please let me know in the comments below. If you're not Danish, let me know if this piqued your interest and you would like to try out hygge, either through this book or through other means. I know it kind of had its moment a couple of years ago, but I'm late to the party, so if you're late to the party too, it's never actually too late to join up with a good idea. And I personally think hygge is a great idea for winter. All right, so be sure to go ahead and grab the book downstairs with a link below. The next book that I'm gonna be doing for next month's book club, if you wanna read along, is How to Break Up With Your Phone. I've got a link to that downstairs as well. Go ahead, grab the books, leave me a comment down there. Let me know if you're excited to join this book club and if you'll be reading along with me. That is all I have for you today. Until next time, take care of yourself and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.